guys, welcome back to Irish Funny Vlogs. Welcome back to the Premier Division season review. Myself and Keno are here. We're going to go through each of the teams from 10th all the way to 1st. And we'll also talk about the predictions at the start of the season. We both actually had the exact same predictions as each other at the start of the season. So we'll see how we've done there as well. Keno, we'll start off with Longford Town. We both tipped them to finish 10th. They did finish 10th. 2 wins all season. They won the open day season against Derry, and I remember they beat Dundalk as well, 1-0. 22 goals scored this season, the lowest in the league by quite a bit, at 71 conceded, I suppose, at 15 points. It tells its own story a little bit, but does it though?
No, not. Look, we all know they haven't been good enough. They haven't been able to cut at a Premier Division level. It's not that I want to try, and I think about 14, 15 times we are beaten by 1 goal as well. You know, I could be wrong on that number, but it's in and around that anyway. So, you know, they were in a lot of games, and I think, you know, obviously the keepers, the likes of Lee, who was playing most of the games, you know, he was pulling off saves, but he was, you know, and it's tough because he's trying to pull off these types of saves, and you know, he's pulling off the saves and they're still conceding. They're still losing it by 1 or 2 goals, you know, but it's nothing I want to try. And I didn't think they'd I didn't think they'd be able to cut a Premier Division level. Look, it's great for the town that they did get there. And, you know, they were in the Premier Division. It's just a shame for the first half of the season that no fans were in as well. I did think they'd finish bottom, but I didn't think they'd finish bottom with so little points. So I didn't like, especially when they win the one that wins was the first day of the season type of thing. So just showed they've only won 1 game since that, and that was only a couple of weeks ago. So it's been a tough season for them, a tough year for the club. But they didn't spend out their means. They didn't, you know, break the bank. They're in a great position financially. I won't say great, but they're in a very stable position. Like, they're not going to go through any money issues or anything. So, you know, it didn't do them any good. It didn't do them any harm. They'll probably have a fight in their hands to hold on to some of their best players. And, you know, if they do, they'll definitely be a force next year. Like I said, they're looking at the Premier or the First Division, and, you know, probably Waterford, they're probably going to be the team to beat, probably in that division. Well, it depends if the players stay at the players that are there. So, you know, it's going to be more of a level playing field. I don't think it'll be as much with Waterford dropping down and UCD going up, you know, but, you know, Longford to be in and around the playoffs next year, and like you saying 2 years ago, anything can happen.
Yeah, they were a bit, Darragh Doyle's a bit unlucky as well to lose his job, because, as you said, they were kind of pissing into the wind a little bit coming up, but we did expect them maybe to get more points than that as well, but he did a good job in getting them up in the first place, and you know, obviously they parted ways there as well, so that was a disappointing fallout from that, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, it's not nice, you know. It's never nice to see a manager, especially in this league, lose their job or something. Now, I don't think he was ever under pressure, funnily enough. Like, nobody was ever questioning him because they were in every game and the players were given absolutely everything for him. So, you know, it was a strange one to see him having a meeting with the club and then leaving with a couple of games to go. But, you know, look, these things happen. He's at the next season, and, you know, things are looking up for Darragh personally, I think, and it's a great move for him.
Yeah. Who would you say, before we move on, were Longford's kind of key players this season? Were the better players?
The likes of Dervin, Arden O'Driscoll, Lee Stacey. You know, they'd be my three. You know, they're the backbone to any successful team as your midfield. And, you know, so they were really good. And, you know, Dervin is a player that's probably on everyone's radar now. And, you know, Arden O'Driscoll won't be far behind. I know he's linked with Shells. And, you know, I think Lee is too good to be playing First Division football. So I'd say he'd probably get a Premier Division club. Whether that be for his sake, I hope, playing every week. If not, you know, he might be a cup keeper. Or, like I said, there's a lot of games now next season with League Cup, Leinster Senior back, you know, FAI Cup. And then if he gets with a team in Europe, you have that and the league. So there's a lot of games, and, you know, maybe some agreement to be made there. But, you know, I think these players, Longford, do very well to hold on to them.
Yeah, moving on to Waterford now in 9th, and obviously they finished at 42 points, well ahead of Longford Town. But another mental season for Waterford that ended in relegation. Obviously, the start of the season with Sheedy and Newell in charge, and things didn't go right there, let's say. And eventually, Power sold the club to Forest. Forest came in, brought in Bertram. Brought in a lot of good players as well. Suddenly things are looking up. Well, I suppose to summarise quickly, obviously that week before the playoff final, we had that sacking of Bertram after he was suspended initially, and just look, it all went haywire for them then. How do you summarise their season?
Yeah, it was a weird one. It was a nightmare to start the season under Sheedy, and I feared the worst. I got a bit of stick, I remember, for putting them ninth.
I must say both of us put them ninth, by the way, so we got that right as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely got stick. I'll never forget it. I did get stick for that, and I really worried for them. I just the players that he brought in, they weren't any big names. He had a couple of loanees until the summer only, and it was very, very makeshift, and I was really worried about them. So I had them ninth. I didn't think they'll have. I didn't think they'd have as mad of a season as they've had, but ultimately they deserve to go down. They got 2 points out of the last 12 or out of the last 15 or whatever it was. Towards the back end of the season, and look, that's not good enough. It's all well and good getting yourself into a position where you can fight and you can stay up. Like if you had 42 points in any other year, you might be pushing for Europe. So it is tough to take, but it is what it is. And they're in the first division next year, and they'll do well. Like I said, they're probably going to be the team to beat. But
staying full time, by the way, they're staying full time incidentally, so that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I think they'll be a big force next year. But like I said, they forget about on the pitch. They need to sort out their off the field issues. They need to sort out. They need to give the fans the club back, and they need to. I'm not saying Forest needs to give the fans the club, make a fan ownership. I'm not saying that, but give the fans a club to be proud of. And I think that's something that they haven't done, and that's something that the fans are nearly ashamed to say that they're associated with Waterford at this minute in time, and it's not right. Look, they need to get a good manager in there that knows the league, in my opinion. And, if they can get someone in there that knows the league and is willing to stay there for a season or two at least and just steady the ship, well, maybe they have a chance. But, there's a lot of off-the-field issues there that really needs to be sorted.
I think what hurt them more is the fact that they looked like they were gone under Sheedy and Newell, and Bertram came in, Forrest came in. And as I said, all these new players came in, your Pattersons, your juniors, one or two others as well. And it looked like they were after saving themselves from the drop. And then to get that blow in the last couple of weeks, there was obviously stuff going on there, and it might have filtered onto the pitch, who knows. But to get that blow in the last week of the season, pretty much up to the final, it killed them completely, like killed the whole club, didn't it?
Yeah, look, you look at it and you think to yourself, like the likes of Bertram, now he came in under power, and he was an appointment of power. So you think then with Waterford, new owners coming in, he'll get rid of Bertram, he'll get rid of this, and he'll give his own manager in. That wasn't the case. He actually gave him a 2-year deal, but it didn't work out. Whatever happened, some issues happened, and differences of opinions or whatever it was, and now all of a sudden they're looking for a manager. They're in the first division, and things are very bleak down there at the minute.
Yeah, if you had to pick 3 key players over the season for them, who would you go with? Difficult one. I think especially because some of the better ones came in halfway through as well. That was the difference. The 2 different teams. You're right, pretty much. Yeah.
I think Brian Murphy has to be talked about as a leader in that camp.
Yeah.
You're looking at obviously Felix and Junior. They were kind of 2 men that really took over at them, and they obviously had your man. O'Connor, is it, in the middle that came in? He left halfway through.
Adam O'Reilly, yeah. He was actually one of the good ones that came in at the beginning, if you know what I mean. He did well for them, actually.
They had a couple of different teams, so it was tough to pick that.
We're trying to put the 2 together, actually, a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll go with Adam O'Reilly and Evans for the first half of the season, and the second half I would go with Phoenix and Junior.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. We'll move on to Finn Harps, who finished 8th. Once again, we both got this right as well. We're doing well so far, Keane. They finished 8th at the table, 2 points for Waterford. They started actually the season like a house on fire, and then they went through a dip. And then, as usual, they came strong when the season came to the back end again. So, look, Ollie Horgan, again, in my opinion, has done his job. He got in a few players once again. Players like Musto, I think he'd done really well for them. Olabi in the second half of the season, after Foley done well in the first half of the season. How would you summarise their season on whole?
Harps, they had a great season. They had, I'd say they had the same budget, if not less than Longford. You know, there wouldn't be much between the two sides, and they done amazing to be clear. Well, I'll say clear. It was the last day of the season. It was the usual Finn Harps. You know, Finn Harps.
I suppose they were in control actually for a change, and they actually went out and done the job convincingly against Longford, didn't they, in that 5-0 win?
That's it. Fantastic result last game of the season. Great atmosphere. But delighted for Ollie. Delighted for the lads. You know, they were brilliant, and you know they were always tough to beat. Everyone gives them that stereotype, and you know everyone doesn't give them the credit they deserve, because in the last couple of years they can play decent football too.
Yeah, they actually went through a spell there. I think, remember, they beat Pats, but they also beat Shamrock Rovers in that spell as well. They were actually playing really well in that spell, and they were one of the teams that you thought, Jesus, they could beat anyone the way they're playing, and they did.
Yeah, definitely. They were, you know, they were really good. They were in flying form. When you're in flying form in this league, you need to win your games, because when you're in lower form, there's no hope you're winning games. So, you know, you need to win when you're on top and when you're in form. And in fairness to them, that's what they done. First half of the season was unbelievable. Adam Fowley was he was different grade. He was a different player, you know. And then second half of the season, you obviously had your Mark Coyle, who was great all season. I thought, what a player he was. Barry McNamee had a great season as well.
Signed on next season as well, which is great for them. Me,
Barry McNamee was a player that went off the boil and kind of ran down in Cork.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely fantastic last season, which is great to see, because he's one of the best talents in the league on this day. And obviously, look, we'll have to talk about Tundi, how good he was, and obviously Sean Boyd as well. You know, and you know, then they didn't get the forward players didn't click at the same time. That was, and I think it kind of helped Harps in a way, where like they had Fowley for the first half of the season, then they had Tundi for, let's say, the middle to the 3/4 mark, and then they had Boyd towards the end, who really dug them out. And you know, obviously you had your Mark Coyle there through it all. You had you know, your McNamee at the back. They were, you know, really good at the back in terms of you know, Webster playing right wing back sometimes, and you know, they had some really good players there, and I don't think they're getting the credit they deserve, because they're this so-called hard to beat team that play no football. But you know, people who watch the games, they'll see what the Harps are like.
Exactly. They went through a stage as well where Siddiqui was injured for a little while, Webby was injured for a little while, Musta was injured for a little while. I think McElhenney might have been injured for a little while. And like, you know, to come through that and stay up was fantastic. But the key players for you, I think you're saying Mark Coyle for starts anyway.
Oh yeah, massive. Mark Coyle for me. You know, he's probably one of the standout players, and I think if he wasn't playing for Finn Harps, he probably would have gotten to the team of the year.
Could well have, I
think he's that good. He really is. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, like I said, because he plays up in Donegal. You know,
he does for people like us, Keane.
Yeah, but
I know what you mean.
I don't like saying he doesn't get the credit he deserves, but he doesn't, you know. And I think anyone that watches Finn Harps or any Finn Harps supporters will agree with me. He's probably the one player. I know you signed McNamee and stuff like that, but Mark Coyle is probably the if you can have a wish list to sign one player right now for next season, I'd say Mark Coyle will be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to Drogheda. They finished 7th. We're right again so far here, Keane. So 7, 8, 9, 10, correct. They finished with 44 points in the end, but unlike Finn Harps, they were never really dragged down into that relegation fight, weren't they not? Which was obviously fantastic for them. Again, they started the season off brilliantly. Players that performed very well in the first division adapted easily, actually, to the Premier Division. Your Doyles, your Kanes, your Browns, and players of that. They brought in a lot of experience as well at the start of the season. The likes of Deegans, even Daniel O'Reilly emerged as a leader. Massey, obviously, you know, we know Massey, he's a leader, etc. So those guys, I think, really helped them along. We talked about Markey before and how he was a little bit rejuvenated this season at Drogheda as well. So the recruitment worked, let's say, and it married well to what they already had. They went through a stage then late on the season where the 4 games in 9 days, and luckily for them, they weren't really dragged back down there because that was a tough schedule, and I suppose they got away with it from that point of view. But how do you rate their season?
Yeah, look, it was a season of up and downs, you know, and probably a bit of an anticlimax for them. They started brilliantly. Look at House on Fire. They started getting some really good wins under our belt. They started getting some really good performances under our belt. You know, I think the first game of the season, they probably drew from right.
Waterford, to beat Waterford, I think it was the last
They
minute
beat
goal.
Waterford, sorry,
last minute goal, wasn't it?
James Brown scored.
That's it, yeah.
that was on the Sunday, I believe.
Yeah. That gave them the kickstart, yeah.
Yeah, and the following Saturday they played Pats and put a fantastic performance up against Pats. Billy King goal in the last minute to win it for Pats. But you know, the performance levels were there. Then they started getting their rewards with the results. They're not afraid to have a go at teams. They're not afraid to. What I like about him and his team, we'll probably see him adapt next year, at Pats. But he was happy for the opposition to have the ball, and he was happy for Drogheda to end when we win the ball, we go for them, we attack them, and he was happy with that, and he wanted that, and that's something that excites me because it showed a lot of balls to give Sean Grovers the ball, and Pats the ball, and even Dundalk balls. There, he just probably 5 or 6 teams better than Drogheda. And, it shows a lot of balls because he could sit in deep, but he really wanted to have a go at teams, especially at home. Look, I genuinely think Tim would be disappointed and Drogheda would be disappointed with that season because, finishing 7th for me, like I said, would have been a great season. They probably would have bit your hand off for it. But if the league was reversed and they finished the season how they started, with the amount of games they played at the end, they could have been in Europe, I think. They obviously had the bodies, the legs caught up with them, and the squad size caught up with them towards the end of the season. But like I said, if that was flipped and they finished the season off the way they started, it could have been a totally different season for Drogheda. But look, 7th is fantastic. They have a bit of continuity there now with Kevin coming in as manager and Dara, who knows the league inside out. 2 really knowledgeable men and 2 gentlemen. So, I'm looking forward to seeing Drogheda next year. I don't think they'll have any problems next year. I will think they'll probably be 7th, 8th next year. I can see the gap being a lot lower than, let's say, this year.
Key players for this season for the performances, do you think?
Look, I'm saying it every week. With James Brown, you've Conor Kane, which is, epitomises everything that happened with Drogheda this year in terms of the wing backs. Daniel O'Reilly, Dan Massey. I can name the team here. You're looking at the likes of Gary Deegan in the middle, who was massive for them off the pitch as well. And I think obviously Mark Doyle, the amount of goals he scored, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And if he goes to one of the top 4 clubs or whatever next season, I think we'll start seeing his quality because
he's a finisher. He's a real finisher. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of players there. There's a lot of players like Killian Phillips who emerged over the season as the season went on. Yeah. But what a season for them, and I wish them all the best. They're a fantastic club. They go about things the right way, and definitely not like Waterford. I think the fans are very proud of this Drogheda United team, and they're very proud of the club. I think they're a club really doing things the right way. They're a club that has a bit of common sense, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful. But not a lot of teams have common sense in this league, and not a lot of teams with people in charge and who make the decisions have a lot of common sense. But, Drogheda do everything fantastic, even through the height of COVID and stuff. I thought they just handled everything really well. Now, I'm not saying that other teams didn't, but I think Drogheda, in terms of the way they even done the pods, where, they had one midfielder, one defender, one attacker in their pods, and they stayed together, and you didn't leave that pod. Where that means then, for example, if Gary Deegan was out, well, you're only missing Dan Massey. Missing 4 centre-halves or whatever. So, I thought it was very clever. Really, really impressed with Drogheda this year. Look, fantastic club. Don't have a bad word to say about it.
Very good. We'll move on to Dundalk, and this is where we go a bit askew. They finished 6th and we tipped them to finish 2nd, but let's be honest, nobody would have tipped Dundalk to finish 6th. And funnily enough, Cian, 6th was kind of like, they were lucky to finish 6th in the end. I mean, for a good chunk of the season, they were 8th, 9th. Let's be honest about it. The controversies, again, a bit like Waterford in many ways. At the start of the season, you had Filippo in, and it doesn't even feel like it was this season that Filippo and Keegan were the kind of the dream team, does it really? They were gone after 5 matches. Magilton was there. He was director of football start of the year. He took over for quite a few games before Vinny came in, took over. when they won up in Drogheda. That was his first game. Then they had the European games, which they actually did really well in. And, it was all about stabilising. They got to the FAI Cup semi-final. And for a good chunk of the season, as I said before, there was a real threat they could finish ninth, but very difficult to summarise the season. Like, we could be talking about them all day, but we won't.
Yeah, look, the reason we tipped them to finish second, sorry about that.
You're grand, go on.
The reason we tipped them to finish second was because they won the cup, and I thought it was a bit of a fluke that they won the cup, and I don't put them down by saying that. I think many people would say that. Like last year, 2020, if you know what I mean. They, after winning the cup and getting to the Europa League group stages, were possibly the worst Dundalk side we've seen since 2012. And, it was madness how it worked. It was madness how it happened. But, it's another mad season and a hectic season for them.
The recruitment, actually, is something I forgot to mention. The recruitment at the start of the season did seem a bit scattergun and odd, didn't it? And it proved to be the case, really, didn't it?
Ah, yeah. Look, it was like we're buying everyone
from every country in the world, nearly.
We're buying anyone, and I don't think they had a plan. They didn't have a transfer plan. They didn't have set targets. They didn't have this. They were just bringing these players in, expecting them like a duck to water, and they're going to play in this league, and like, I swear to God, probably the likes of Zahibo, stuff like that, they weren't coming cheap. Natastad, your Kovskis, these type of players, Abibi, the goalkeeper, Yates, the other keeper they brought in halfway through the year. It was weird. It was a strange season for them. It was a hectic season for them, I think Jim was just a disastrous appointment from day one. I think, they lost the love of the club. They lost what Dundalk was about. They lost the support of the local community. They were getting rid of volunteers. They were getting rid of people who gave up their lives to Dundalk. They didn't give a shit.
I know this sounds funny and a bit simple, but they even got rid of a chip van that was there for 20 years. There's things like that, you know what I mean? It just annoys people, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's tough. It's really tough to see. And it was painful because there's a lot of good people in Dundalk. And, their fans are amazing at Dundalk. Look, I know people, when I'm saying fans, people would say, they're only coming out since Stephen was there and stuff like that. But they've been there, and in fairness to them, they stuck with them this season. The fans were unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even at the start when they were standing over the barrier, the fans were there. They were loud. They were proud. And I think that's something that probably, and at this minute in time, probably they'll win it for the sake of the fans. I thought the fans were the best I've seen this season in terms of how they got behind the team in such a shit job, and that's what it was. It was a disaster. It was frightening stuff. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking back at the stuff, like, and the club now is in a stable position. You'd like to think, Stevie is coming back. The club legend is coming back to Oriel. He's going to probably bring some really Dundalk legends back. He's probably going to bring, the new owners seem to be pushing in the right direction. They have the support of the local community. Volunteers are back involved. Dundalk could be a real force again next season. Obviously, the recruitment is so important because he probably needs 12 players, 13 players,
Yeah, still a bit to do, but they're in a better stage, let's be honest.
They're in a much better stage. Peak six, I'll be very confident in them pushing for Europe next year. I don't think they'll go and win a league title, but I'd say they'll be in and around the European places. They'll probably finish sixth again, but they'll be a lot closer to Europe. There won't be any worries about the back door.
Yeah, 6 flashed them, let's be honest, this season, which is mad to say. If you'll go back to listen to that predictions video.
Look, I think Vinny steadied the ship. Like,
yeah,
he was unbelievable for them, man. Like I said, he loves that club. He absolutely adores Dundalk. He was there for the fans. He got the club out of the shit. The club done the dirt on him.
That's what I mean. That's why it was funny when he came back, wasn't it? That's what made it odd, because, as you say, the club done the dirt on him, this or that. It was funny seeing him come back in that light, wasn't it? So quick as well.
Look, he saved them. There's no doubt he saved the club. Look, key players, if you're thinking.
Yeah.
Andy Boyle.
Probably most of the older ones, Keane, actually. Most of the existing ones that were there before. Yeah.
Andy Boyle, Pat Hubin, I think took them out of a lot of holes. Mickey Duffy, I don't think McElhenney was enough. I don't think he done enough. Sean Murray for me this year was a big one. But McElhenney didn't play enough. But, they've been my players for them.
Yeah, interesting. The players that kind of done it before with them, I guess, I suppose. On to fifth place with Bohemians. We tipped them for third, actually. And I remember tipping them for third, Keane, but I had a funny feeling they could finish lower. I was thinking third was the best they were going to get, but they did finish fifth, and we had them there for third. But an interesting season. They obviously lost some key players starting the season. They brought in some players like Liam Burt, like Ali Cooch, and players like that, and they've done really well. Devoy and Tierney and players that really pushed on. Kelly came in and maybe done better than we thought he would, considering how he did at Pats the previous season. He actually started quite slowly at Bows as well. People don't seem to remember, didn't he, as well, funnily enough? He did start funny.
I remember the abuse he used to get from Bows fans as well. I'm not going to lie, I felt sorry for him. He was awful for Pats. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And he did start poorly for Bows and all, obviously. First 10 games or so. Yeah,
I remember all the stick he was getting.
Some turnaround.
He got player of the year last night.
Yeah, he got player of the year last night. Some turnaround.
I don't agree with Bowles getting all the applauded for finishing fifth now. I'm not going to lie. But,
no, I'd be the same, but exactly.
How can Georgie get player of the year? How can Dawson get young player of the year? And he still finishes fifth.
Yeah, it's a bit.
How can you have 5 players in that team?
I couldn't see Pats finishing fifth and getting a player of the year. Like, you know what I mean? It just wouldn't sit.
I was never, when I'm doing team of the year, and I think we're doing that same, aren't we? But
yeah, we are.
When I done team of the year for the last couple of years, there hasn't been a Pats player in it. And,
no, very few. Very few.
There hasn't been any. I mean, there hasn't been any. And, I think it's only fair because Pats were shooting. But, I think this season now that could change, hopefully. But I don't think there'll be many Bows on my team. But the season has been stop-start for them. They've been disastrous. They probably played well in about 4 or 5 games. 3 of them probably against Rovers.
They were consistent, Keane, in the European games for some reason. They could really get themselves, and not even the ones at the Aviva, but even away from home in Europe. For some reason, they could really get themselves up for those games. And then they came back and played Longford and say they drew with a last-minute goal or something like that.
Europe is strange.
It is, isn't it?
I go back to Jeff Kennan with Pats in 2009.
Yeah.
We couldn't win a game in the league. We were in a relegation battle. We can go and beat Villette at home and away. We can beat Corellia Saboteur at home and away. And then we can go and play Steaua Bucharest off the park in the RDS. But we go out and play Cove Ramblers and get beat. And that's just the way it was. And Europe is strange because they're big occasions. You get up for them. You are excited for them. You're playing in the Aviva, first of all, as well, which is going to give you a massive shout. Look,
and in this case, no away fans either. In this case,
that's it.
Yeah.
So Bows had it all their own way in the Aviva, and that was a great time for the club. There's no question. But them great times don't come around if you don't do your day-to-day job and get yourself in them positions. They're going to miss a big time next year. They're going to miss the money. Obviously, the fans are going to miss Europe. But the club is going to miss the money. Now, I'm not saying they're not in any trouble
there. No. That's one good thing for Bows. They are in a very good position financially off the pitch. Yeah.
They're a million miles away from all the trouble again, which is great. But, at the same time, you want to be in Europe. They've been in Europe now consistently for 2 years. We've seen them with Pats. Once you fall out of Europe, it's very hard to get back into it. And because of the teams with the budgets and stuff like that.
Won't get any easier next season either.
No, it's a massive off season for Bows.
Yeah.
Because you'd like to think Pats will strengthen a little bit. You'd like to think Dundalk is obviously going to strengthen.
Derry already.
Derry are strengthened already. You'd like to think, the likes of Sligo is probably going to strengthen. Rovers is probably going to strengthen again. So you're playing catch up a little bit, and that's what happened.
What do you think, though, Keane, went wrong for them this season? In what made them inconsistent? Was it just a really young squad, bit of naivety in some games? What do you think, in your opinion?
I've seen them play with younger squads. I've seen them play with.
That's true.
So I'm not putting it down to that. I just think it's silly mistakes. concentration, silly mistakes from two centre halves mainly as well. And I think that really killed them because they do have the nucleus of a really good team. I think Keith Buckley is overrated. Look, he's a Bows legend. The fans adore him. And I get that and I understand that. And I know his affinity to Bows.
Yeah.
And I can see why he's in the team. But I think he gets a lot of plaudits because of that and because he's the captain. And look, I'm not denying him. He's a great captain to have for Bows. He's probably the best one. He probably, for Bows' sake and how good he is and what he does. But I think if Bows really want to take it up a notch, they need to be bringing in better quality players.
Yeah.
And I think they'll need two centre halves next year. I think they'll probably need a right full.
The Lions goes, yeah.
Does go. You have Tyreek, who's probably going to play an awful lot more games next year now, with the likes of Breslin probably on the move a little bit. But they have the nucleus of a really good team there. But like I said, I think they need a midfielder. I think they need two centre halves. They obviously need another striker and another winger, in my opinion, because if things aren't working in the games, if things aren't working out for them in the matches, they don't have the personnel to change it up a little bit. They have the young Mullins, they have players coming through with conveyor belt there with Kevin's, but at the same time, the League of Ireland is tough. You find yourself out of Europe, like I said, it's very hard to get back in. They've been very inconsistent. They were worrying about, all they were thinking about was winning the cup for the last couple of weeks. That's all it was. It was all about Bows winning the cup, and we get in Europe by winning the cup. They should have been in Europe by the league. It was there for the taking for them. They didn't take it. Then it goes into a cup final. It's a lottery. It's a toss of a coin between Pats and Bows. And look, Pats came out on the right side of the result, but Bows shouldn't have been in that position. They shouldn't have happened to go into the cup final knowing that they needed to win for Europe. I don't think it gave them any incentive to go and win the game either. So, it was a horrible season for Bows, I thought. Some of the performances were awful. Some of the games, like even towards the back end of the season there, the likes of Drogheda, they played Drogheda at home. And Drogheda played them off the park and had about 5 or 6 clear-cut chances and just couldn't stick the ball in the net. And, I think it's, this is Bows we're talking about here. This is a club that has been in Europe the last couple of years and has been pushing that boundaries, and they have been punching above their weight. But, it's all well and good punching above your weight, but you need to stay there. That's the key. And, unfortunately, they fell a little bit short this year. But, I think Keith Long, I think Trevor, they'll regroup again. They'll get good bodies in. I think they'll have a bigger squad next year, which is important. They're not in Europe. They're not going to be playing a lot more games anymore. They'll just have your normal cup competitions to worry about. But at the same time, for a so-called part-time club, it's still a hectic schedule. So they need you need a big squad.
Yeah, Derry finished in 4th place and we had them down for 6th. But to be fair, I think most Derry fans will say, how did we finish in 4th place? They kind of arrived there late in the day. And as you say, Bows probably should have had it tied up, but they didn't. And Derry took advantage. And of course, Derry at the start of the season had Declan Devine as their manager. He was gone after 4 or 5 matches as well. They were bottom of the table, no points at that point as well. And very hard to see how... I've always said, though, it's a really long season. A lot can change. And I remember earlier on the season, we were banging that drum like mad, weren't we, to be fair? But certainly a lot did change for Derry City, didn't it, once Higgins came in?
Yeah, look, like I said, it was two different teams. And that's what it was. I'm not even saying 2 different teams, 2 different clubs. That's what it was down. It was like 2 different clubs. Start of the season, they were awful. They were they were a really bad, mediocre side, and there's no getting away from that. They were. That was nothing. Derry was a nothing team, and it was heartbreaking to see.
I remember one game actually came. Pats played them Richmond. Pats won 2-0. And Pats basically played in second gear and won the game easily. Yeah. There's no way you play a good Derry team.
The right full from Hull City on loan. What's his name?
Lupano was sent off, but even apart from that, like, it was just a nothing performance from them, and it was so easy for Pats. I remember thinking, this is unbelievably easy. I was worried for them at that point. I thought Pats are just, you know what I mean?
They were obviously bottom with no points, and it was time for the change. They brought in, the big signings like the Parkhouse, man Hodge. Hodge Parkhouse just couldn't score. And then the news kind of broke that, the team basically they had to fall into a few quid in terms of the ownership and stuff like that. And everything looked positive again. Then, like I says, they were out of the local community. I think even your die-hard Derry fans nearly fell out of love with the club a little bit for a few years. There was no players there from Derry.
That's not what you want. That's completely the opposite that you want in this league, no matter how your club is going.
I'm being honest with you. I'm a Pats fan. I couldn't care if we had 25 lads from Zimbabwe playing for us once we're doing well. And that's the way it is, But when it goes bad, that's an excuse. That's what people look at.
Yeah.
And, that's like Dundalk this year, for example. That's, people look at the foreign players coming in and they use that. And our people look at players, look at them. We've only 2 players there in Derry. It's supposed to be Derry City, but if they were winning, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, you have that side of it as well. But I think in the summer, obviously getting rid of Parkhouse, bringing
McGonigal coming in,
massive signing. The resurgence of Boyce, for them, and bringing in then McElhenney, Duffy. Now, his brother Shane McElhenney coming in now as well. You have a lot of Derry people. They're bringing Junior back, who is a Derry City player.
Derry people, but good players at the same time. That's the main,
And, they're bringing all these players back. The Derry men, the local men. There's a bit of pride in the place again. And, it's great to see. They're back where they belong. They're at the getting into Europe.
That was a bonus. That was a real bonus, wasn't it, for them?
Yeah, look, Europe, that money, they'll be delighted with that for you, Bob. That's what it's all about, and obviously they want to go through a round or two or stuff like that. But, a few bob is what it comes down to at the end of the day. Look, I'd say they're going to bring in a couple of more signings now. The looks of Brian Maher is an excellent signing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Can they go and bring in Georgie Kelly and stuff like that they're talking about? Another local-ish fella, I know he's Donegal, but
but he was in the Derry Academy years ago as well, so he's part of that really. But it'd be huge.
Player-wise, after me cough.
I'll tell you an interesting one quickly there. Declan Devine didn't have Kieran Harkin in the team, which was a bone of contention. And that surprised me as well, I have to say. And Higgins brought him into the team. I have to say he's excelled since he's come back. It's a strange one that he wasn't picked. Maybe some tactical reason. Yeah.
Boys for me. McJannon was good.
Yeah.
So was Towell, but I'll go for Towell for his aerial ability. Cartsoy pulled off some really good saves and kept them in games. And McGonigal. You obviously have your Will Fitzgerald and stuff like that who are excellent as well. But, I think that team wouldn't be, like all them, you look at all them late goals. I know they were only to draw and they weren't even to win, but they're in Europe now, so they're all important. And it's great for them. They never said die. I even think of the game against Pats where they sat in, had one chance and put it in the net and we were beaten. But games like that, that's how you get into Europe. These are the games that you need to win to get yourself in there, and they've done it. I'm delighted for Derry. Great city, great fans, great people. Everything's going the right direction again, and Derry are back where they belong.
Yeah, I think you need a good Derry in the league, to be fair. Third place was Sligo Rovers. We had them down for fourth, so we were in around with Sligo.
We don't pass the fourth, did we?
We had Pats for a fifth, would you believe? Yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute, but we had them to finish fifth, yeah. So Sligo obviously finished third. We had them there for fourth, but 2 years in a row they're in Europe. But an interesting season, I mean, particularly from a Sligo fan point of view. I think their expectations were a little bit too high, Keane, I would suggest, going into the season. Maybe I know they brought in some good players. Bulger came in. Obviously, Kenny really kicked on this season. I think he can kick on again. And very strong at the back, I think. When they have their best defence out, they're up there with Rovers, aren't they, with their best defence out?
Look, no doubt. Really great season for Bucco and the lads. I think what people are disappointed about is, they were second all the way through. They were forced down for a few weeks, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
1 or 2 weeks they were top of the table, I think.
It's a long season, though, Keane. You know yourself, don't you? Like,
and they only had a small squad, and I think that killed them. The Greg Bulger injury. I'd say they would have finished second ahead of Pats if Greg Bulger was on that pitch a lot more. It just shows you. Greg Bulger was out for a couple of, I think it was 2 months or a month or something like that.
I'd love to see the record, though, of wins and losses with him and the team, because I'm sure they lost most of the matches when he wasn't in the team.
Greg was out for a long time. And then he played against Pats in the first game back in the showgrounds, and they won. And now that was some very doubtous decisions from the referee that night. I'll never forget that. But that just shows you. Do you know what I mean? That's Greg Bulger. He was so important to that team. He's integral. I think without him, Sligo probably would have finished 5th or 6th. So
it's
I think
mental, isn't it?
That one player alone. I'm delighted for Bucko. Third spot for Sligo was fantastic. I'm delighted for them. What a season. From where he took the club to where they are now, it's just, what a man. What an absolute legend of a man. You know what? I hope he does well again next year. But Liam has never really mastered European football.
No, that was the one thing this season, wasn't it? That disappointing from
Look, I love Liam to bits. I absolutely adore the man. But Europe, he can never seem to clock it, even with Pats.
Is that because Keane doesn't really change his style at all for Europe, and maybe sometimes you have to? Yeah.
Like we're going to play. Now I know we had a great side, but we're playing Legia Warsaw. We're playing attacking football against them. It's not going to happen. But it's only going to end one way. But Liam is always so positive, and that's what I love about him as well.
Yeah.
Or he never goes out to draw the game or lose a game. He's never going out to keep the score down.
If he was playing Real Madrid tomorrow, he'd play the exact same system, the exact same tactics.
Look, what frightens me now, and I always say it, but it takes balls.
It's not doubt he has kicked Sligo on, to be fair, as well. I mean, look at the state of them last season. At the start of the season, he got them into Europe. That was unreal, but he has kicked them on, and they've got young players there at the club. Adam McDonald's a player that came in as well, and I think he's really kicked on as well, to be fair to him. It's another one that's...
Yeah, look, key players for me, Gary Buckley, Greg Bulger and Johnny Kenny. They'd be... That's your spine. And, obviously, Martin is just as good as Gary Buckley, in my opinion. But, I know he was out for a while. So, Gary Buckley was the main man there for me.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we'll move on to second place, and that was St. Patrick's Athletic. And saying that with a smile because both had them down for 5th. So, we were a bit unsure maybe at the start of the season. We felt like, I think, they could challenge for Europe. But we were just held back, I think, a little bit, to be honest. But they finished second. They won the FAI Cup. I don't think I could have envisaged that, to be honest, at all. It's hard to know what to say after that. I know people say they were well off Shamrock Rovers, to be fair, but I suppose we weren't the team that was expected to finish second either, so you have to throw that in there. Look, it's been a great season overall for St. Patrick's Athletic, hasn't it? Yeah,
look, I don't think they get the credit they deserve, and I'm not just saying that from Pats fan, but, I don't think they get the respect. But what a season, and it's been one of the most memorable seasons for me in a long, long time. Every player on that pitch gave everything for the club, and that means everything to me as a fan, and there was a great connection with the players and the supporters this year. I think we've seen that in the celebrations. Just honestly, it was the best season we've had supporting Pats in a long, long time, and I think it was a really enjoyable season. Yeah. You weren't going to games shitting yourself. You were going to games really looking forward to it. You were going to these games saying, we can have a right go at them. Some of the occasions this year, even first day of the season, I know, you think of these goals, you think back, Robbie Benson against Rovers to put us 1-0 up. We were expecting to lose probably 3 or 4-0 at that minute in time, and now we knew what team. We had a keeper who we didn't know whether could catch a ball or not. We had a midfielder coming in, Alfie Lewis. We had these players coming in that weren't proven. We lost Luke McNally, so he wasn't even mentioned once this season. So, we're losing our back line. We lost 2 out of our back line in terms of Rory Feely, who was a really good player for an important player for Pats last year. Yeah. Well, in 2020. I know it's 2 years ago now. It's hard to believe. But, they were really big players that we lost. But the recruitment side of it was on point. You know, John Mountney, what a right fool. Sam Bowen, to a certain extent, was fantastic for us. You know, can play just in front of the back four, can play centre half, can play right full. And,
what's the best position, do you think, Ian? Just to throw it out there quickly.
Well, we haven't seen him play with Pats in the middle.
That's true. I haven't either, obviously.
So, you know, he was decent there for Shamrock Rovers. And saying that, Rovers was only a half-decent team back then as well. But he looked well in it. And, you know, he obviously went to Waterford and started playing centre-half, right full. He was very good for Pats at right full, I thought. I think he was probably better at right full than centre-half for Pats. I know people would say he's not great and stuff like that, but, you know, he was a big signing for Pats this year. In terms of his presence, his ability, and how he is in the dressing room. He's a good lad as well. I think that's one thing Stevie brought in was good lads. You know, and
that was key though, Keane, wasn't it? That was the big key thing, and just to get that dressing room spot on and right. And it's clear, like you've seen players even talk about it all season. It was obvious, like it wasn't just players coming out talking crap. You know the way that happens, but they were. It was truthful. You just knew it was factual, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know the looks of Billy King played every game this year. You know, you look at.
That was hard to believe when I seen that statistic quickly, actually, because
really?
the reason why is because he's had a lot of injury problems in the past, and I can't believe he managed to squeeze in every game this season. That was unreal, actually, yeah.
And some big goals, you know, some of the occasions this year from Pats, you know, you think back the goal and Sligo Birmo last kick of the game, you know, what a header! That was one of my favourite ever goals. I was there.
Pats were unbeaten up to that point as well, so that kept them unbeaten as well at that point. Yeah.
And you know, Bowes, we won some big games away from home. You know, the Bowes game, especially away from home, 1-0. You know, all these games that I think probably our best performance of the season, probably Dundalk away just after they finished in Europe.
Yeah,
I think we took the piss. We knocked the ball around. And then Dundalk at home in the cup was obviously another one. You know, and then, you know, you had some really good young players coming through. I think, you know, Keith Long has obviously got a lot of plaudits for bringing in young players and bringing them through. But Stevie needs to be mentioned for this because, you know, he shot a lot of balls. You know, we all knew the game was probably going to extra time last week in the final. And he's bringing on the 17-year-old James Abankwah, you know, for probably 50 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
But no issue bringing him on either. Just, you know what I mean?
He brings him on, and we knew we had no issue with him coming on either.
Exactly.
And you know, the likes of Ben McCormick, you have Tara Burns, you know, you obviously you have Vít Jaros in goal, you know, Alfie Lewis, Jamie Lennon, you know, the list goes on. Matty Smith is a young player to a certain extent as well, in 24.
24 so, you know, maybe, but yeah.
So, you know, you're looking at that, and, you know, we've probably the youngest side in the league.
Even Sam Curtis came on for a few minutes against Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah, Sam Curtis, you know, and then you're looking at, you know, Lee Desmond, who's only 26.
He's an outlander at this stage.
You know, he's an outlander. That's what I'm saying, yeah. And, you know, the resurgence of Birmo this year, how good he was. You know, like I said, Mountney, stuff like that. I know I talk about Pats longer than the other team now. But, you know, key players this year for me was Forrester. How good he was.
Absolutely.
All over the pitch. I think I'm going to say Lee Desmond. The reason I'm saying Lee Desmond is because when he was gone for them 6 weeks, you could really see a whole.
There was a Lee Bulger Sligo element there, wasn't there?
That's it. And Vít Jaros and Matty Smith, they were the players that, you know, if I had to pick a disappointment, they'd probably be in Woko and now Melvin Lambert in terms of disappointments. Look, obviously you have Dara Bourne, you have Ben McCormick, we can name everyone here. But, you know, I think Vít Jaros, Lee Desmond, Chris Forrester and Matty Smith were the key to that team.
Well, I think, it's usually a good sign when people are picking kind of 3 or 4 or 5 players as, you know, big players for the season. That's always a good sign. We'll finish up with Shamrock Rovers, who won the league, and no surprise we tipped them for top. And I'd always thought they were going to win the league game, but I expected Dundalk to be closer to them. They won the league by 16 points in the end. You know, they lost Jack Byrne, they brought in Mandrew, different type of player, but gave them something different. The key for Shamrock Rovers all season for me ultimately was their defence, to be honest. They kept so many clean sheets, which allowed them to score late in games and get those last-minute winners that nicked it 1-0. They only conceded 28 goals all season, scored 59, even the second highest in the league. But I think just all round, they're just simply the best team in the league, and there's no question that they deserve to win it. And again, probably don't get the plaudits they deserve, to be honest, either, do they?
No, definitely not. Look, I'm delighted for them. Champions. Worthy champions at that. Good players brought through in terms of the young lad of Mako as well, and
he looks exciting. He's exciting for next season. Looking forward to him.
There are soldiers to Liam Scales at left wing back this year, who obviously got a great move to Celtic. There's obviously talk of Danny Mandrew probably following them. But people always say, why would you leave, let's say, a club like Bows, for example, to go to Rovers? Why would you do that? It doesn't work out. You're a money grabber. You're this, you're that. Right? This is the reason why they go. Do you think Lopez will be nominated for Player of the Year? Do you think Lopez would have been captain and playing for Cape Verde if he was playing part-time football with Bows? And it's the same. That's why players go, because Rovers can sell you the full-time element, but there's so many more options for you to go in. And, it's great to see. It's, they, in my opinion, they should be more powerful on the European front. I think they're getting to that stage now where, we probably should see them qualify for this Conference League every year. Let's say, give a fight. I know the conference probably not going to go on for that long. But
they'd be disappointed they'd be very disappointed at European game. They're more than capable of going through.
But if you give, let's say, in the next 7 years, let's give 5 to 7 years, you'd like to think Rovers would be in a position where they can qualify for that conference group stages year in, year out. And that should be normal for them, And I think that's the bar that they need to set. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I think that they're doing so well on the domestic front now. There's only one way doing it now, and that's Europe. And, bringing Jack Bone back is an excellent signing for them. He's not going to be the same player. He's after having a back injury. He's after getting an operation and stuff like that. He's probably not going to play a lot of games. I'd say he'll be, if you're playing UCD away next year, he probably won't play. But if you're playing Bows at home, he'd be in the side.
He's so intelligent, Keane, that he's one of those players who nearly could play at 75% or 50%. Yeah. He's just so intelligent, isn't he?
That's it. Exactly. Like I said, I don't think he's going to play as many games. I think he's a totally different player.
Yeah.
I don't think Bradley gets the credit he deserves. I think he took the club, similar to what Stevie O'Donnell done, he took the club of egos, stripped the right back, brought in good players, brought in good people, brought in some really nice gems, in terms of players coming through. The signing of Colin Whelan next summer, stuff like that. These type of players, he brings through these exciting players, he brings through players.
They're at a stage, Keane, as well, where they only have to bring in each season 1 or 2 players to fit that gap or that gap or that gap, aren't they? They're not going to lose so many players. No.
What I like about Rovers now, and it's something that, it's something that they always get told that they buy the best players and they do this and do that. But Rovers in the last couple of years have kind of signed players that were on the verge of being a top class player. They probably weren't, like the likes of Lopez wasn't really a top class. Scales.
Lee Grace.
Lee Grace, you're bringing in players like, even in the mid, Dylan Watts.
Gary O'Neill.
So these type of players that weren't.
It's just good recruitment, Keane. That's the one thing that would irk me about people about Shamrock Rovers. They have the budget to bring in all these players, but they haven't brought in too many until recently, maybe what you would call star names, really. And as well as that, you have to, you can spend all the money you like. You still have to have the right personalities and the right system and the right bond. And look at Dundalk last season. You have to look at that. And that's where Bradley doesn't get the credit, as you were saying. That's the side where he doesn't get the credit. And the club maybe generally.
Look, I'm delighted for Stephen. He's a very hard-working manager. He's very down-to-earth. I think people, because he's the manager of Shamrock Rovers, people say that he's arrogant, he's this, he's that. If you actually sit down and speak with Stephen, he's one of the nicest men you can meet. Great fella. I've so much time for him. And you know what? I'm delighted to see young managers doing well in this league. And, Stephen Bradley's now different. So, Yeah, it's great to see. I do genuinely think, like I said, I think Europe, is that Calvert coming through the screen, is it?
It must be, yeah. I'm not going anywhere today. It's freezing outside, actually. But anyway, not that might help. Go on. It might help.
Yeah. You know, it's great to see. I think, like I said, Europe now, it has to be the aim for them, I think. Obviously, you have to do your job on the domestic front this year, next year again.
It's hard, just quickly before we move on there, Keane. Obviously, we'll do a preview later on, but it's very hard to even see them stopped right now next season, isn't it? Very hard.
You know, but the thing is, if they rest on the laurels, there's always someone to take you off your perch. And, you know,
but if they keep doing things the right way and the team are, you know, working hard and have the right mentality, is what I mean, then it is very hard to see them. You're right that way, though, yeah.
You know, you can't rest on your laurels. You have to go and you have to sign a couple of players. You have to recruit to freshen up the squad. You need to get the squad pumping again and ready for the new season, which I've no doubt Stephen will. But you know, you'll obviously have Pats who'll want to close the gap. You'll have Bowles who'll want to have a better season. You have Derry who'll want to have a better season. You know,
even Dundalk to a degree will want to.
Dundalk trying to close the gap on Europe a little bit. So if you're not on your game, you're going to be beaten, and that league title is there to be taken. And you know, like I said, Shamrock Rovers now will do everything they can to hold on to it. I've no doubt they will, but you know, it's like I said, I don't think it's going to be straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, guys, we'll leave it there. That's the season review wrapped up. Let us know what you think. A bit of a bumper show. Thanks again for that, Keane.
Oh, what a bud.